Space detectives, YouTubers and pareidolia police. This is kind of a follow-up to my previous video, which is this one. Close-up cat statue on Mars, genuine Martian archaeology. If you haven't seen that, I'd suggest you check it out, because basically that is a cat statue. And there's even a kind of little thing next to it as well that looks like either another cat or some other similar creature. Don't know what it is. This is the same area and is very near to this object, okay? Or objects. It's literally only meters away. So it's well worth checking out, because it will kind of make a bit more sense when you see what I'm about to show you now. Now, this may get a little bit complicated, because what I've got here is three different images that we're going to be looking at. We've got this one from Sol 513, which is this one here. Okay. And there's a couple of things down here and something up here as well. Now what I've done is I've cross-referenced some images here. So that's Sol 513. We've got this one here, which is a similar image. This is from 518. And we have some of the same objects from a different angle. Got that thing up on the ridgeline there. We've got something here. And there's some weird things down here as well. And the more I look at it, the more weird it gets. There's a lot of weird stuff here. And a lot of these look like statues, or perhaps even mummified heads and skulls. But mostly it's hard to tell, because the image quality isn't brilliant. But luckily, because I'm cross-referencing these images, as we got here, we got Sol 519 here, which is the day after that one before. Same area. We've got the thing on the ridgeline there, which is a little bit bigger. And this head here is the closest we get to this and some of these objects here. There are some really weird things here. And before I go any further, this thing here was first published by Monty Williams back in 2014. Here's the image. You can see the raw image there, which I just showed you. And there's the head. Now his video is called Disturbing Mars Photo, and this was published back in January 2014, so that's a long time ago now. That's 4.5 years ago now. So, and he's just put, this is very strange indeed. And yes, and you can see my comment underneath here, where I've actually given him credit for, because I did a video about this about 4 years ago as well, after I'd seen his video, but I gave him a full credit. And I linked to his channel and to his video, which was cool, and he was fine with that. And there's a link to it here, just here. And a great find, and a really crazy image, this one. Now, let's go straight to the folder before we go any further, and I'll show the close-ups first, and then we'll backtrack a little bit, and I'll show you where to look on each image and how to compare them and such like. Okay, I basically got these three images here. We got this one here from that's Sol 518. We got Sol 513 here, and we got Sol 519 here. I'm going to show you the close-up of 519 first. This is the thing that Monty found years ago, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, wow. I'd been finding very similar things not far from here, and I thought that was really cool. It looks like a mummified or petrified head. Now, this may be a carving, but to me it looks a little bit too detailed and a little bit too real, maybe, to be an actual work of art or a carving. Now, the video I did about this, I think I called it Mars' Ugliest Alien. It's probably not a very fair thing to call it, but I haven't found many uglier things on Mars, let's put it that way. This is quite a scary looking thing, and when I show you the close-ups, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Not the prettiest looking alien, this one, and it's a little bit disturbing. Whether it's actually petrified or carving, I think it's probably petrified, because there are other carvings in the area which are blatantly carved because they're stylized and a lot more rock looking and a bit smoother. And the shapes tend to be simpler on the statues. the general, especially when you're dealing with heads and faces, they tend to be a little bit simplified. Now, what I've done here is I've got the one that Monty found here. I've given Monty a credit here, spotted by Monty Williams, 22nd of January 2014. When I've done a clip of it in a close-up, you got the raw image and the enhanced image. Now, even the raw image here is really clear. The lights hit it in such a way you can see the eye detail, the mouth detail. You've got the top lip coming round here. You've got a downturned mouth with teeth in it, which you can probably see in there better. A pug-like nose, a clear eye with a pupil, which is absolutely insane. Now, this may turn out to be a carving. It may be quite weathered and damaged. And the reason why we see eyes on a lot of these heads is the fact that they may actually be painted on, perhaps. Or this may be carved out, the pupil. There even seems to be a reflection just there. But this may be carved. So it may be a slight optical illusion that may be a hole or something. If you go to the museum and look at the statues, what you'll find often is their pupils are carved out like a carved out hole, so that it always looks darker than the rest of the eye, which is basically an optical illusion. But I'm not so sure with this one. This one looks more like a petrified head, and what I've done is I've found a second and third angle of it on the other soles that I showed you a minute ago. And there's this one from the front, which is from much further back, so it's very small, but that's what it looks like from the front. You can see the pug-like nose, the downturned mouth with some teeth there, and two eyes, and quite a wide sort of face with very prominent cheekbones here. But I mean, this is the clearest, but we're seeing it from a slight side angle, so you're not seeing the whole face. This is slightly further around to the left, so we can see a bit more of it. We've got the other eye, but the detail is very poor. The image is very blurred. May have been blurred deliberately. I'll show you in a minute. The nose, I'm not sure about. I think the nose comes up further here, but it was so dark, as you can see here. You've got this distortion in here. The nose is kind of a bit hard to make out, but I think it kind of sticks up a bit more. It's not that far down. Because we can tell by looking at this image, it's got a pug-like nose, and there's more of a pug-like nose here, with a very small, short nose. And many of the skulls and heads that I found do have noses like this. Some of them have great big long noses, and some of them have little pug-like noses like this one, but this is the most pugnacious looking. Many of the ones I found do look like this as well, but this is the clearest. So this one that Monty found is the best angle of it. This is a bit more revealing because it actually gives you more of the face detail on the other side. You can see the eye, and there's something in the mouth here, which is very odd. Even in the raw image, you can see something sticking into the mouth like an object. I don't know what that is. Right, so there's that, and there's also some other things in here which I found. This thing looks like another statue. Now this is really vague, and it doesn't make any sense when you see it that big, because it's on the horizon almost. Well, it's on a ridge line a bit further back, but it looks like something, but you don't really see any detail here. So I'll do some clips of that and put them into the end, because here it is from further back, and you can see there's something there. But when you zoom into it, if you over zoom, you can't really see anything. Yeah, not really sure about that one. But that's a fine example of an object that's just out of range. Here's that the really small one from further back. Let's go in. You can just about make out some teeth there, and that downturned mouth, and the eyes and nose are just about clear enough. But if this hadn't been spotted already by Monty years ago, I wouldn't have actually seen it from that angle or this angle, because I already knew it was in the area. So what I did is I backtracked and I went back to some earlier images of the same area from further away, and re-examined the whole area, and there it was. So basically all I did really was is confirm what Monty already found and what I'd published in my original version of the video. I was just making sure that this was actually real and not just some kind of optical rock illusion or some kind of light illusion or something. So when you have something like this from multiple angles, it does verify the find. There's also this thing here, which looks like a statue that's broken off. The top of it's broken off. I'd imagine this would have come round and been more rounded here, but maybe not, who knows. Quite a clear cheekbone here and here with a sort of complex mouth situation going on with teeth. There looks like teeth in there, 2 eye sockets there, or eyes, but another elongated head. I would have thought this would have come right out here. I'll show you that in the raw image in a sec. That thing I just showed you here, which doesn't make any visual sense because it's over zoomed, doesn't look very clear from that angle. But if you look at it from this angle, from one of the other images, here we have it. It makes more sense. You can actually see a nose and a mouth and 2 eyes and brow ridges there. It looks like it's smashed, like a lot of these things are. Some of it's broken away, perhaps at the top and the side here. You've got a rather strange square structure next to it, which is right on the edge of it there. And these images do look like they've been damaged. They are downgraded, and I'm going to show you. I'll go in and show you them now. They are downgraded. Some people say that these are all the images are obfuscated, but all they really have to do is downgrade the image. And when they compress them down, you lose a lot of detail. And then they can just say, when someone like me or Monty comes along and finds something, they can just turn around and say, oh, well, that's just pixelation, or that's a JPEG artifact, because they've downgraded them in such a way that it's hard to see anything up close and in any great detail. Right, first let's show this one here, because this has got that thing. It's got the head, the main head here, but it's really small. But we can see it from the front, from the front angle, which is pretty cool. But it's there. I mean, even though this is small, you can see it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen some of these things, just so you can see some of the details jump out a little bit. Okay? You can see those little teeth and the eyes and the general shape. It won't give you a lot of detail. That statue head I just showed you, that's from a different angle here. This is the same thing. That large statue head with the broken off part there, you can still see it, it's there. It gives you the general shape, but not any great detail because we're further away. But you can see it, it's there. The thing on the ridge line, you can see also. That's another one by the looks of it, but it's a bit vague from this angle, too far away. But there are some weird things in the foreground. Now, I only just noticed these. There's a weird object over here, which has got a sort of rounded part to it. I don't know what that is, if that's anything significant or not. Who knows? Could be part of a statue, don't know. Don't really know what that is. There's also this thing here, which could be a skull, or who knows. It's got like a brow ridge here and like an eye shape here. Now, a lot of the skulls I've found are kind of filled in with mud and have dried out. This was a bottom of a lake, so if they fell into the lake, they may have got sediment in them, and when the lake dried out, the sediment also hardened into a kind of clay. So eye sockets often tend to be filled in with clay. That's quite common with some of these things. Unfortunately, with this thing here, we've got a couple of objects just behind it there, which are obscuring the edge detail here. So not really sure about that. That may just be a rock, but to me that could well be a skull, but we're only seeing it partially because it's kind of half buried. Unfortunately, that's often the case with these things. There's also another thing here which looks like it might be another statue head. It's got a kind of helmet-like shape with 2 eyes and a kind of nose thing here, but it's in heavy shadow. But when you brighten it, push it there, you can see like a mouth comes out. I haven't brightened that up properly yet, so I don't really know. I'll take a clip of that. There's also this thing here, Looks just like a rock when you look at it, but actually when you look at it again, a bit more carefully, let's sharpen it up. You've got a mouth here, you've got a nose there, and you've got an eye there. And you've got some weird details coming back here, like it's joined together. Very strange. You've got a sharp edge there. Now, this is side on. If this is a statue, we're looking at it side on. This is the side of the face, and it's looking this way, over towards the left. And the nose is pointing that way, the mouth is here. Let me get the eraser tool and I'll show you what I mean. That's the nose there, that's the mouth here, and there's the chin, and there's the eye. Okay, whoops. I went a bit crazy there. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now, if it's a carving, which it may well be, then this may have been attached to a wall or a part of a building or some kind of plinth, or maybe sat on something. Okay, so you've got to really extend your knowledge of what is possible on Mars, because a lot of these things, when you initially look at them, they just look like rocks. This thing here obviously is very vague, but there does seem to be a nose and an eye and another eye there, but it's really vague, that one. It's a bit shadowed, a bit too shadowed to see in any detail. So that gives you a general idea. So we got that thing there, we got that thing there, we've got that possible thing there, a possible skull here, and a weird object there. We've got that statue up here that's too far away from this angle, and another one here, which is also too far away. So let's go to the next image and see them closer up and see what we can find. Okay, so let's go back to, yeah, okay. Well, I've already showed you this one. That's the head with the little pug-like nose, and even in the raw image you can see the eyes here and here, and the sort of pug-like nose there, and the mouth kind of comes like that. Pretty mean looking dude. Now, whether this represents a male or female, I couldn't tell you. Not really enough information to tell either way. There's that thing up on the ridge, which may be a head, which has got a kind of a mouth. Oh, hang on. It's got like a nose ridge here. It almost looks like a helmet, actually, because that sort of comes around like that. You've got that, and there's something kind of sticking out of the mouth there. And the head comes around like that. If you look at the luminosity of the picture, the actual picture is much darker, and these darker images are usually much worse than the brighter ones. Luckily, this one is nice and bright, and we have a close-up of the head here. You can really see that downturned mouth there, and the sort of nostrils on that nose, and the eye is really clear. And you've even got pupil detail with a highlight. You've even got a highlight just there, right? That's insane. The amount of detail there. I mean, you may think it is a low-res image, but this is fairly close up, and compared to many of the other heads and statues I found, this is one of the best. Why? Because it's in good detail, better than a lot of the ones that have been found by me and other people. That's a weird object there. I don't know what that is. That looks odd. It's got like a little square thing attached to it. Don't know what that is. So there's lots of weird things in the area. Let's have a look at this other stuff up here. Now, there's that other statue that I showed you that's kind of leaning back with it. Now, I think the head on this would have come out like that initially, or something like that. Let's do that a bit more carefully. Yeah, it may have come out like that. Who knows? It looks like it's broken off. But there's fragments everywhere in this area. And there's that other head that's in the distance on the ridge. Now you can actually see a nose here, and an eye there, and the sort of mouth thing there with something attached to it, like that. Maybe a carved object. I think that's more likely carved than petrified. It has a simplified, stylized kind of style to it and shape. Then there was this. Now this is confusing. It's very similar to something else that I found in the area. In fact, it may even be the same thing. This is really weird. You've got this angled thing here. It's kind of angled like this, and you've got this weird thing coming around here. And this thing seems to have like teeth. Now you can't see them here, but there's a mouth here. This has been obfuscated, right? It's been blurred out. If you look at the image, that area looks like it's been blurred out. There's also, I'll show you a close-up of that in a minute. There's also another one here. Very hard to make out, but there's a nose here, and a mouth here, and a head coming round. This is a kind of helmet, kind of carved helmet or head shape. There, okay. Bit vague, I know, but it's there. When you get too close, you can't see it. But once you know it's there, you sit back a bit, you can see it. So I'll show you this from another angle as well. I called this the sculpture. Now, this is the thing I just showed you, but we're seeing it from the back. Okay. So let's go back to here. I'll show you it again so we can orientate ourselves. Here, okay. This is the object. You've got this strange angular shape at the back that comes down like that. That was really poor. You've got this shadow coming across here. Okay. It just looks like a rock initially, but when you look at it from the other angle, you can see a lot more going on here. And you've got this weird thing here with a dark bit there which looks like an eye. This almost looks like a visor. This looks like a back of a head here. This looks like a nose coming down here. And there seems to be teeth-like structures here. It is really quite abstract, and Picasso would have loved it. I'm sure he would have. It looks like cubism. If any of you know anything about art, look up Cubism and Pablo Picasso. Very, very weird. Let's go back to the folder and look at it again, because this is from a slightly different angle, but you can still see the same details, but it's sharper because we're closer up. You've got that angled part here. You've got the nose bit is kind of a bit out of shot because we're sort of further back, but you've got these kind of eye-like structures here on the back. Now, some of the statues I've found are double-sided. In other words, you have a certain face on one side, and then when you look at the other side, there's a different one. And this looks like it may be one of those things. It's like a multiple-headed carving almost, where you have you've got teeth here, you've got a chin there, got two eyes and a nose, but it's got this weird section here which doesn't make any sense to me. Almost like something was attached to it there, maybe. Something may have slotted onto that. And then we have, from the other angle, here's the enhanced clip. Now from this angle, it looks completely different. Now this is a good example of what happens when you move around an object, and depending on the way the shadows fall, you see different things. I'm struggling with this a bit because it kind of reminds me of some of the sculptures I saw in Spain. I've been to the Picasso Museum many times in Spain, and some of the sculptures are very much like this, where you've got faces that are almost deconstructed and then kind of put back together again in slightly the wrong order. It's difficult to explain. You've really, unless you know Picasso's work, it's a bit complex to try and get across. But I do recommend you look him up on Google, and you'll get what I mean. So, to me, what it looks like we got here is an eye here, and this is like a visor that comes up and round, and we've got some teeth here. We've got a mouth that comes down here, got front teeth there, some teeth there, a nose. This is just so weird. It's like a bird with a visor on, or some kind of reptile. I don't know. I really don't know. And when I sort of sharpen it up, they've got these weird details here, like here. Can you see these? These parts to it there. I don't know what that means. So from this angle, it looks quite, and you've got that angled part there. Very strange, and this seems to be joined. You've got a join there, and there's quite a sharp bit coming underneath it. I mean, I really don't know what to make of it. This looks a bit like a jaw coming round. This is so strange. It really is strange. So, answers on the postcard with that one. I'm struggling a bit with that. I'll put clips of that in at the end, and I'll compare both angles, and we can just try and work it out. You can take freeze frames of it if you like, whatever. Really difficult to work out. I mean, I do have some knowledge of modern art, but I'm more of a traditionalist, really, being a portrait artist and that sort of thing. I stuck to the more classic styles rather than abstract, conceptual, modern art or whatever. But that looks like another statue head there with a nose. You can see the nose, eye there. But it's pretty vague, and it's small, and it's eroded. Like a lot of these things, they're damaged, eroded, broken, and often obfuscated, and the images are blurred or just downgraded so much that you can't really see anything. And there it is. There's loads of little weird things here. This thing here was also weird, this thing. It's got like a weird flat top to it, and there's a very straight piece coming out, I think possibly behind it. An angled piece with a really straight part to it. That doesn't look natural at all. Even if this is random, the rest of this stuff, that doesn't look natural. It's like a sheet of metal or something. And this weird object here, which is kind of hexagonal. It's got a rounded part there, but it's got a straight top, straight edge there, and a straight edge there. What is that? It's an object. It's not something that's just been eroded. That looks like it's been shaped. You've even got a little, what looks like a little tiny skull here with an eye socket and some teeth there. But it's so small, it's not even worth bothering with, really. The whole area is littered with weird stuff, and unfortunately the images are a bit blurred. But thankfully, now and again, we get a good close-up here that they didn't blur out, like this, where you can see some good detail. And you can even see the ear, the pupil, nostrils, mouth with teeth sticking up, a chin there, obviously. Some weird facial details here. This looks like it's damaged or eaten away or something. I think in the original video I suggested that this may be some kind of creature on the face eating it. Because there do seem to be limbs sticking down here, like there's a spider or kind of creature like a crab on there or something. It could be an insect. I did find an insect recently, and it moved as well, which I've shown in one of my recent videos. So there could be an insect or something trying to eat this face. Now, if the climate is as bad as we're told it is on Mars, and there's very little air and very little moisture, then any living creature that dies would be one of the few food sources on the surface. So if you were an insect or a spider or something, you'd have to eat it. You'd literally have to grab bits of it and take it back to your little underground burrow or whatever and eat it. Or grow something like termites do, some kind of mold or fungi, then you'd eat the fungi, you know. So there we have it. I mean, this was cool because it's from 3 angles. So it's pretty hard to dispute, really. But I'd imagine this video will probably get buried, like a lot of mine have been recently. As I'm uncovering what's actually on Mars, it seems that somebody's trying to cover it back up. I wonder who that could be. So there we are. That was it, really, for this one. I will put a few more clips of these in at the end so you can see them up close. There's that statue again. That was pretty cool. It's got a cat-like mouth to it there, a bit like the other cat thing that I showed in my previous video. So do check out my previous videos. Not getting viewed a lot at the moment. Don't know what's going on. Are people still on holiday? I don't think so. So there's something weird going on here. But do check this one out. Let's have a quick look at it now. There we are. There's the raw image. It's got that mouth, downturned mouth. There we are, the downturned mouth. Nose, the eye. Even in the raw image, you can see the eye and the nose and the mouth quite clearly. basic enhancement shows it up, even with a pupil. That suggests to me that these either are carved and perhaps painted as well, perhaps quite bright colours that we're not seeing, as these images are filtered and censored. We don't get to see the real colours. They put an orange filter over all the colour images, and they're all this mucky, horrible colour, and they're blurred out and quite low quality. But sometimes we get lucky, and this is one of those times when we get to see something like that. Very cool, but a little bit scary. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share on social media. That really helps. I will see you soon.